Every project has risks, which are problems or challenges that might happen and stop the project from being successful. Sometimes, it's hard to figure out exactly how big these risks are or how likely they are to happen. That's where quantitative risk assessment comes in. This method uses numbers and data to figure out the size of the risks and how much they could affect the project. What is quantitative risk assessment in project management? Quantitative risk assessment is a way to use numbers to figure out how bad a risk could be if it happens. Unlike other methods that might just tell you whether a risk is big or small, quantitative risk assessment uses math and statistics to get a clear answer. Here are some key things you can find out with quantitative risk assessment. Expected monetary value, EMV. This helps you calculate the financial impact of a risk. Decision trees. These are tools that help you see different options and their possible outcomes. Monte Carlo simulations. This method uses a computer to look at many different possible outcomes for a project. Why is quantitative risk assessment important? There are many benefits to using quantitative risk assessment in project management. 1. Helps you make smarter decisions. Instead of guessing about what could happen, you can use real data to understand the risks and decide the best way to handle them. 2. Builds trust with your team and clients. When you can show the numbers behind your decisions, it's easier to explain the risks to your team or clients. 3. Saves time and money. By knowing the risks ahead of time, you can make sure you're spending time and money on the right things to avoid big problems later. How to measure risks with quantitative risk assessment. Follow these steps to start using quantitative risk assessment in your projects. Step 1. Identify risks and gather data. The first thing you need to do is make a list of all the risks that could happen during the project. This means talking to your team and experts who know about the project. Step 2. Assign probabilities to risks. Next, figure out how likely each risk is to happen. For example, if a risk happened in 3 out of 10 similar projects, then the chance of that risk happening again is 30%. Step 3. Figure out what the risk could cost you. After you figure out how likely a risk is, you need to see how much damage it could cause. This could be in terms of money, like how much extra it would cost, or time, like how long it would delay the project. Step 4. Work out the risk's possible cost, EMV. The next step is to figure out how much the risk might cost. To do this, you use the expected monetary value, EMV. Step 5. Use more advanced methods. Sometimes, for bigger projects, you'll want to use more complicated tools to understand the risks better. Decision trees. These are diagrams that show different choices and outcomes. They help you decide what might happen in different situations. Monte Carlo simulation. This is a computer-based method that looks at thousands of possible outcomes to see how risks could affect the project's time and cost. Tools and resources for quantitative risk assessment. There are several tools that can make quantitative risk assessment easier. Microsoft Excel, a helpful tool to do math for risks and make easy to understand charts. Primavera Risk Analysis by Oracle, great for more advanced simulations. At Risk by Palisade, helps with Monte Carlo analysis, which simulates many possible outcomes. Jira Risk Management Plugins, helpful tools that let teams track and manage risks while working on projects in an agile way. Unlock your project's potential with quantitative risk assessment. Quantitative risk assessment gives project managers and teams the numbers and tools they need to handle surprises and make smart choices. By understanding the chances of different risks and their potential impacts, you can make smarter decisions to protect your project and achieve better results.